The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show, episode 31. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And I'm the other host, Warren.
Oh, my sweet fancy Jesus. We have an amazing show planned for you this
My sweet fancy
Sunday.
Jesus.
I don't know. We were going to have a That's How Women Are. We have a Street Freak of the Week. We have plenty of anecdotes of strange and weird people doing strange and odd things in my presence.
Oh, good. This is exciting.
And also, Warren and I went out as promised in the last show.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. We actually guaranteed we would do that.
And we actually did. We had a fun-filled Friday evening at the Scary Monster and the Super Creep show.
Yes.
Our good friend Sean and also, I guess, movie theater monitor Sean Meyer, the lead singer for Scary Monster and the Super Creeps, which any of you who have not checked them out, they're a Bowie cover band.
Yes.
And it's probably as good, if not better, than seeing the actual David Bowie playing.
They cover a lot of ground.
They cover pretty much the entire David Bowie career, all
Yeah.
the good stuff anyway. And it's I know I've seen live video of David Bowie playing now, and his voice is still okay, but then he does that obnoxious thing that a lot of people do in their old age when they're famous musicians. They start fucking with the songs.
Yeah.
And
well, you get bored after a while.
Yeah,
right?
and I can understand that. You play the same song 10,000 times live, but Sean's band, they play pretty much album perfect versions of the songs, and it's quite good. Go to facebook.com/thesupercreepsmusic.
You know what? This is good because this is a proper plug.
It is a proper
Because I noticed
plug.
in the last episode,
Yeah,
we just
it gave no
referred to-
information
well,
whatsoever.
we didn't know what day the show was.
Well,
and we
I
didn't say
did-
we didn't say the name of the band either.
That's true. But I did for the photos for the show.
Yeah.
I put up the Facebook invite showing where they were playing and what the band was called to try to redeem that, because I realized as I was listening back, we're like, hey, go to the show. We don't know where it is. We don't know what day
Yeah.
it is.
But our friend is performing.
Yeah.
And
So
our other
if-
friend Anna, too, was performing as well.
This is true. So if you want to see the Super Creeps in the future, go to facebook.com/thesupercreepsmusic, and you can see when they're playing a show.
Yes.
In Bellingham, pretty
Yes.
much.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, but occasionally other places around here. Maybe Stanwood, Mount Vernon.
Perhaps.
So, you never know.
It might
We'll keep
be
you
Seattle.
informed. Yeah.
So did you have a good time Friday? We went to the show together.
Yeah, it was all right. I had an okay time.
All right. That's not very good for our plug.
No, the show was tremendous.
Right.
I mean, it was fine. It was all right.
So your girlfriend's out of town right now, too.
Yes.
So you were rolling solo.
Yeah, I was rolling solo.
What did you even do? I was kind of off in my own world, running around.
I don't know. I just stood there and watched the show.
Yeah.
Smoked a couple cigarettes.
Yeah.
Talked to some people.
Yeah.
That I knew there. Then as I was going home, I stopped and got a slice of pizza.
No.
Which was good, because I was worried about being hungover because I hadn't had any drinks in a long time.
Yeah.
So I had 4 drinks, which shouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, that's not
I had
much.
pizza, I drank tons of water, and I still woke up with a headache.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty hungover because I ended up drinking till like 3:30 in the morning or something.
Oh, God.
But it was fine. I also jumped up on stage, sang a song with the
Oh, you
band.
did? Yeah.
My talents were needed.
People loved it.
Did they?
Oh, I think so.
Good audience reaction.
People were clapping and stuff.
I actually it's weird because I've been in bands in the past, and you play a show, and even if the audience is really into it, you'll get some people coming up to you after the show and like, hey, good job, man.
Yeah.
But for some reason, if I ever do a little guest spot where I go up and sing, I get way more compliments than I do if I'm actually the lead singer of
Well,
a
you know
band.
why that is.
Well, I have my theory. What's your theory?
Because you just performed and you came down. Everyone that watched you perform is still standing there.
Right.
And so they can say that to you.
Well, that's true, but I think that's part of it. But I also think there's this thing where when people go to see a band play, they expect the band to at least have a certain level of competency.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I expect them to know how to play their instruments. I expect them to know how to sing. And so when they do well,
It's taken for granted.
It's taken for granted that they're going to be okay. And I think that if somebody gets called up out of the audience, I mean, obviously it
Well,
was
do people
planned.
assume that you're just like somebody
Well,
he
no,
pointed at?
I know they don't assume that, but even though it's obviously pre-planned, like, okay, we're going to have some guy come up. It's not like he's just like, you. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
But I think it's still the sort of thing where it's like, oh, he's like one of us. He's just one of the audience. So they put themselves in that position. Like, if I got called up on stage and was asked to sing a song, how would I do? And
yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah. Because you actually were in the audience before you sang, and you're back in the audience afterwards.
They can relate to me.
Yeah.
I'm not like the god up on stage. It's just in a different stratosphere.
You're certainly not.
So that was fun. I got a little flirtation with some women afterwards because of it.
Good.
I didn't have any really follow through or anything, but
well, you never do.
It's always nice for the old self-esteem to have people tell you that you're amazing.
Well, yeah, I can see why it would be. I mean, you're getting out there, you're mixing, you're getting up on stage, putting yourself out there. That's great.
I also went and saw the new Wes Anderson movie, Moonrise Kingdom.
I did not go see that movie.
No, you didn't. You didn't respond to my text message. Or I was
no, well, I assumed that it was a mass text, right?
It was.
And that's the only reason I was included, because you know about my feelings about where Wes Anderson's, career is going and how I'm disgusted by what he does. Yeah. So I might see the movie at some point, but...
Well, I ended up going by myself because apparently everyone who got the mass text just figured that they didn't need to respond. And I had bought my ticket online, so there was no way to reschedule. But I thought it was amazing. I loved it.
I checked the Rotten Tomatoes score, and it's very high. It's in the 90s.
No, yeah, it's like 94%,
I
think, on Rotten Tomatoes.
The critics seem to be really pleased.
I love Wes Anderson movies. I know that you get irritated by them. I've always felt like he was making these movies specifically for me. It's like exactly my taste in films. I love the artificial worlds he creates. I know people criticize that a lot. They say the movies are like precious.
Yes, precious is the term I would use as well.
But this
I think
one,
not original. I don't think Rushmore or Bottle Rocket was, but I think it's, as things have moved along here, I think maybe plot and character have sort of been abandoned for fancy jackets and appropriate decors.
I can understand that criticism, but I've always felt that there is a very definite poignancy and melancholy and humor all wrapped up in that. And I almost think that sometimes the artifice of his world that he creates almost highlights even more the emotion. I think this movie in particular... I think you might even like this as much as you were irritated by Wes Anderson
I'll give it a shot. I watch it eventually.
Because it is definitely very heartfelt. It's about adolescence and love. If you have any sort of soul whatsoever, it'll put you back into that position of when you're 12 or 13 years old.
Now, what am I supposed to say when I see this movie? I have to like it or else I have no soul. That's really not fair.
Well, that is true.
Okay.
But I think it's my favorite Wes Anderson movie now.
Really?
It might be.
Wow.
Yeah.
His brother, P.T. Anderson, not actually his brother, but another filmmaker whose work I think has gotten progressively more interesting as he's made films, and I actually kind of enjoy, and I'm excited about seeing what he's doing next. He has a new film coming out called The Master that there's doing some sort of viral video marketing going on right now, which sort of looks like a fictional treatment of the creation of Scientology.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is just intriguing that the film was made.
Trouble there.
Yeah, so Philip Seymour Hoffman, I believe, is the sort of L. Ron Hubbard character.
I'm sure Tom Cruise is not involved.
Tom Cruise is not involved. I don't think Travolta is going to be getting any massages in this movie. But I believe it's coming out in October, and I'm very much anticipating that.
Yeah, I've loved every Paul Thomas Anderson movie, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought There Will Be Blood was masterful, amazing.
Yes, it was.
So this has been Film Review on the Warren and Bradley Show. So last week I made the rather hubris-filled statement that I feel much better now than I did when I was 18.
Oh, that's right.
And I think the world or the universe or God or Mother Nature or somebody heard that and went, oh yeah? Because this week I have been smited with the most horrible pain-racked body. It's ridiculous. I woke up, tried to get out of bed, and went, ah! And basically fell over because I had this horrible pain in my knee. I don't know what the hell I did to it, but I could barely put any weight on it. Like, all right, that's fun. About 2 days later, again, I get out of bed and I go to scratch my nose and go, ah! And my elbow hurts horribly whenever I bend it. No idea why, don't know what happened. And then yesterday I woke up and had this horrible pain, like all down the left side of my body.
Huh.
I don't know if this is like some sort of heart attack or something going on. And then I took another nap yesterday, went to sleep with the elbow pain, the knee pain, and the left side pain. Woke up with a pain coming from like the back of my neck going all the way down my body. I can't really move my head to one side or the other without being racked by horrible pain.
Dear God.
So I was saying last week that if I suddenly woke up feeling like I were 89, I would probably throw myself in front of a commuter bus. I basically feel like I'm 89 right now. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I need some large... I need to start dating a very muscular woman, and she can just start rubbing me down all the time.
Okay. I was wondering where you're going with that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what she was going to do for you. She's going to rub you down and massage you like a giant massage therapist?
Well, that's what I'll get out of the relationship. I don't know what she'll get out of the relationship. If she just likes manhandling skinny men.
Well, maybe she does, yeah. It could work out perfectly. You have no idea what caused this.
I don't know. I think there's
it's weird
some
sort of unrelated. The knee thing's weird.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's all tied in together. I think there might be some sort of sciatic thing going on because it's like the back of the leg into the ascile region on one side. Or maybe I have just some sort of like tumor on my spinal column.
That could
or
be too.
And
it's probably that. The sciatic thing.
Yeah.
Lots of people have been dealing with this.
Yeah.
I know at the show the other night, we ran to our buddy and listener of the podcast, Jed.
Oh, yes, Jed.
Who mentioned he had been doing a Marine Corps workout for years, every other day. And I was like, well, what prompted this? And he said he had some sciatic pain and stuff. And it was things that he was exercising to like strengthen his core and to resolve that. And I've had the sciatic issues before too.
Well, yeah, my dad was always saying that because years ago, I injured my back rather badly at work. And it had nothing to do with, you're getting old. It was just like a horrible injury where I'd actually slipped a disc. And so I'd kind of dealt with back problems ever since then. And my dad was always like, you got to build a castle of muscle around your spine.
Yes.
Like, all right, whatever. But I mean, I'm insanely active at work. I do work out all the time. My back is strong. My core is strong. I do countless sit-ups and countless push-ups.
Oh, that's right. You do have a workout regimen already.
So it's not, I don't know what the fuck it is. It's driving me insane. I just want to stand up and walk around without going... and feeling like I'm about to...
Is that bad, really?
Well, it's a little better today. I've took like 6 ibuprofen as well, though. So
be careful with that stuff.
Liver failure, whatever.
Your stomach will bleed.
Oh,
well.
I'd rather my stomach bleed than feel... Chronic back pain is... They say that childbirth, kidney stones, and chronic back pain are the 3 worst kinds of pain that humans experience. I don't know if it's true. I've never given birth or had a kidney stone.
No, but of those 3, I would probably take the chronic back pain for an hour.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it's not just an hour, though. It's
that's the
time.
thing. It goes. It's chronic.
It's not very fun.
No.
Do you have anything interesting happen this weekend?
This morning I got up and I was thinking about what I was going to have for lunch or breakfast, and it occurred to me that I hadn't been to McDonald's for breakfast in a long time.
Oh, yes.
So I headed over there and had the big breakfast with hotcakes.
Big breakfast. So what is that?
Oh.
Enumerate everything
Pancakes.
involved. Pancakes.
Hash
Hash
browns.
browns.
Biscuit. Sausage.
Wow.
Eggs.
Yeah.
The whole thing. It was amazing. But it's one of those things, I used to eat the big breakfast sometimes, but it's one of those things that you can like have maybe once a year.
Yeah.
And it's a really good experience that one time. Kind of like having a Big Mac. It's like, oh, that was good. But if you have 2 in a row, you're like, that's disgusting. It tastes like cardboard.
Well, people bitch about McDonald's, but I do love the artificiality of it sometimes, like having a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit or something.
Yes.
Like
it's
there's
good.
this weird texture to the food, and it is completely processed and weird and fake, but it is good. And you're right, though. You can't eat it every day.
If you eat it every day, it just makes you feel gross and you just get disgusted by it. But that once in a while, you get that taste and you're like, man, that's delightful.
That's what always pissed me off about the documentary Super Size Me. I just thought the whole premise of that was just completely ridiculous because obviously you eat at any restaurant every day, all day for 3 meals a day and you're going to gain weight. And he wasn't exercising. He wasn't doing anything.
Well, he's purposely trying to. He's like, he had an idea about what it was going to do with him. So he was trying to be self-destructive so it would make it look like, I didn't need to see a documentary. Eating at McDonald's constantly is bad for you. At the same time, if you're extremely active and probably just eat McDonald's, you're probably fine too.
Well, it's
you
always
just burn
been
all the calories.
My best-selling diet book idea titled Eat Less and Exercise, You Fat Fuck.
It's weird. The whole diet book and diet video industry is strange because there's actually nothing to it in like a theoretical or intellectual thing. It's like calories
the simplest
in,
thing in the entire world.
Calories
it's
out.
A very simple equation. Calories in, calories burn.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that whole thing we're talking about with like the gluten-free, fat-free muffins and things. Is people want to have a weird formula for success, or they want to eat the same amount, but I'm not eating carbs. I'm only eating protein. I'm not eating any gluten. I'm only eating this. Just eat fucking less. You can eat all the fucking carbs you want. Just eat less of them.
Well, wasn't that the gist of the Atkins diet? The fact that it's like, you can just eat as much as you want. Just keep eating. And because you're just eating protein, you won't ever put on weight. Which is like, is that what you need out of life? To just be able to never stop eating?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand is if you're that obsessed with food, just face it, you're going to be fat.
Well, the other thing with like the stomach stapling thing is very strange too, right? Because you just end up eating the same amount you would eat if you were actually on a diet, but you just can't force it down.
I guess, because you just feel so full.
Yeah, because you're full, and like literally your stomach's full, so you can't get more food in.
I don't get that either, though, because the stomach expands and contracts based on how much you eat. You know, like someone like me who doesn't eat a whole hell of a lot, I'm sure my stomach is smaller than somebody who gorges himself.
And if I go through a period where I eat less, you can... Like,
you get full quicker.
Yeah, you get full quicker. The next time you eat a lot, you're like, you can't eat nearly as much.
Right.
So I assume that maybe it stretches out after a period of time.
Yeah, do you have to re-staple it?
Well, I don't know. We're probably going to get to that point after a while, right?
You end up with this weird, like, sausage link kind of stomach where there's just all these strange compartments that you keep stapling and stapling and stapling.
But it's crazy that, like, you see people on the magazines that are, like, so happy that this is, you know, but it's really, like, they haven't done anything except for, like, lay down under a knife. You know what I mean? Because now they literally can't eat enough to make themselves fat. They're like, look, I'm a success story. It's like, are you?
Yeah, that kind of pisses me off.
But the other thing is, it's like, they're not getting any more satisfaction out of it this way, right? Because they're still eating the same amount they would be eating if they just stopped eating at a certain point.
Well, it's the ultimate expression of what our society is now. It's you can do whatever the fuck you want with no consequences, basically.
Yeah, or you can, like, try to eat as much as you want all the time. The only thing that can really stop you is having your stomach stapled and made
I wonder
smaller.
if there's just several weeks where they're still putting the same amount and then it just kind of gets regurgitated back up.
I assume that probably Al Roker like came out of the surgery and like went down to like buy 7 hot dogs and ate them and probably vomited all over like Broadway and was like, well, I guess I can't do that anymore.
It's a scary scene to imagine right there.
I wish I had a YouTube video of that. Make me $1 million.
All right, I think we'll go right into this week's Street Freak of the Week.
Oh, good.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Fair $1.
And give me a motherfucking cigarette.
I ran out of gas ways back. Got me nothing.
You smoke weed, don't you?
Good, in my car.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
All right, this Street Freak of the Week is another one that's a little bit hard to categorize because technically the Street Freak quotient of this Street Freak of the Week is very minor, really. The person who was acting like a crazy person was not a street freak.
Yeah.
They were a freak and they were on the street, but they weren't technically a street freak. But I'm going to tell the story anyway. And again, our bumper music... I might have to have Mitch McCracken record a new bumper music thing at some point.
Oh.
Maybe doing a Mr. and or Miss who may or may not be homeless or something.
Well, but that, I mean, it's,
well, I don't want people listening to the Street Freak of the Week, and it'll be not a homeless person, or it might be a female homeless person, and then they hear the bumper music at the end where it says, congratulations. Oh, I shouldn't use that voice. Congratulations, Mr. Homeless Person. You've been selected as the Street Freak of the Week. And they'll be like, that wasn't a man. That person wasn't homeless. And then they won't trust anything we say ever.
Well, potentially maybe this segment will evolve into just being Freak of the Week.
Maybe.
You can bring in all non-street freaks and street freaks.
Yeah, but I kind of like the offensive nature of Street Freak of the Week.
We do love to offend.
It has a better ring to it. Even though that was not our suggestion. That was a listener's suggestion that we have a segment called Street Freak of the Week. I would just mention weird things that happen with homeless people. And then it was one of our listeners said, you should have a segment called Street Freak of the Week. Anyway, yesterday I had the most freak-filled day I've had in I don't know how long. It was just bang, 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 one after another, just weird encounters. I went to the bakery as usual. We'll get into more of that later because there are more freaks to talk about.
Jeez.
But on this one, I had to go to the Rite Aid because I needed some dish soap and Dr.
That's
Pepper.
Prime's freak area right there.
Oh, yeah. There's this one area, this corridor where the Rite Aid is on the block. There's usually a few homeless people sitting under the awning begging, and then there's all sorts of just other dregs going
And if you want, if you want to go in there and buy a pack of gum, be prepared to wait for 20 minutes because you're going to be behind a couple people in line who are out of their mind trying to pay with like Cheetos and stuff. And it just takes forever to do anything there because it's a homeless shelter / mental institution.
Yes. Well, on this particular occasion, the actual purchasing procedure at the Rite Aid went off without a hitch.
Oh,
I went in there, I got some Liquid Gain dish soap, and I got a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper.
Of course.
And I exited the Rite Aid, and there was this bedraggled minivan parked up on the street right next to the Rite Aid. So I was walking by. All of a sudden, I got hit in the head with something.
Oh, Jesus.
Rather small and hard. I was like, what the fuck? It clangs down on the pavement. I look down, and it's a dime.
Oh, that's
like,
nice.
Okay, that's weird. And then suddenly, bam, I get hit with something else, like this time in the torso. I look down, and it's a nickel. I turn around and I see this giant ass protruding out of the door of the minivan. Well, it's covered by a skirt.
Okay,
but it's an ass just like moving back and forth. And I hear this running dialogue of, I don't want these nickels in my car. I don't want these dimes in my car either. I don't want these pennies in my car.
Uh-oh.
And all this change is being thrown out onto the sidewalk as this ass is like wiggling back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck? I look at the minivan again and I notice that there are literally 20 cats in the back of this minivan.
Oh,
they're all like crawling all over each other, some with their paws pressed up against the glass. And this running dialogue continues. It's an older woman.
She's a crazy cat lady.
She's a crazy cat woman. And she's going, I don't like pennies in my car. I don't like nickels either. No, I'm coming, babies. I'm coming. Oh, my God. I'll save you. I'm coming. Okay. I don't know if she's talking to the cats. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So she throws another nickel. I mean, she's throwing just handfuls of change out of the truck.
You picking any of these up?
I'm not picking any of these up.
Oh.
And another one hits me in the head. And so I'm like, ow, you just hit me in the head with a nickel. Her ass stops shaking and moving. She turns around. It's the most hideous, haggish face I've ever seen in my entire life. She glares at me with this utter loathing and says, I said I don't like nickels in my car. I'm like, oh, all right. Meanwhile, there's two very scuzzy homeless people sitting under the eave, looking on bemusedly as this is happening. I turn and look at one of them. He shakes his head and goes, don't ask me. And then we both kind of shrug and nod and smile, and I walked on my way. So basically,
you could have an experience with a homeless person relating to a person that's actually crazier than the homeless person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were put in a position that they're not usually in, where they are the ones making social commentary on a quote normal, who has a driver's license and a car and can afford to feed 20 cats. It was an excellent experience, and I was quite pleased by the entire thing.
Oh, it's too bad about those dimes and nickels and pennies, though.
Well, and the thing is, she was acting so crazy that the homeless people didn't even bother. I mean, I would think it would be a homeless bonanza with all this change just clanging around on the sidewalk.
Jesus.
And they did not approach. They did not even want anything to do with this woman. They did not want to start trying to pick up the change. There had to be like $1.48
Wow,
in
really?
nickels and dimes just thrown all over the sidewalk.
I might have picked it up.
Yeah.
I usually stoop over to pick up silver. Never pennies.
Yeah, pennies I throw away usually.
Yeah, they're useless.
Yeah. So congratulations, Mrs. Crazy Catwoman who isn't really homeless.
Oh, I don't. Maybe she is, though. She might live in that.
Maybe she lives in the van with the cats.
Yeah, this is hardly.
All right, let's pretend that that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think you have to put any caveat on this thing.
All right.
She's nuts.
Congratulations, Mrs. Crazy Catwoman. You've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
Oh, you lucky woman.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
You know what, Warren?
What?
I think it's time for Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
What?
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Very well. Top story for this week's Celebrity Minute. Emma Roberts. I'm unsure about my new bangs.
What do you think about these bangs?
She looks fine.
No, I think she looks better before.
Emma Roberts is no stranger to major hair makeovers, but she's not quite sure about her latest do. For her role in Empire State, co-starring Liam Hemsworth, 22, and Nikki Reed, Roberts was asked to get bangs. I don't know what to do with them. I'm still like, ugh, they're in my eyes. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I didn't know who Emma Roberts was.
Yeah, I thought that was strange. You never heard of Emma Roberts?
No, so I looked her up on Wikipedia. Apparently she's the niece, or the daughter of Eric Roberts and the niece of Julia Roberts.
Yes.
How old is she? She's kind of hot.
Yeah, she's definitely attractive. I think she's very pretty.
She's kind of like a Julia Roberts without the slightly absurd quality of her features. Like, I don't know. Like,
Sorry, Julia. She won't be coming on the podcast anytime soon.
No. Well, I've never found Julia Roberts that attractive. I mean, she's kind of pretty, but sort of weird looking at the same time, which sometimes I enjoy if somebody's not quite, normal.
I don't think Emma's necessarily the most conventionally attractive person either, but she's definitely, she's a good looking girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's probably about 18, I would assume.
How old is she? Do we know? She's not like 12 or something, is she?
No. She's 21.
Oh, okay. She's fine. Perfect. 21.
Yeah, there we go. I'll be writing her an email. Uh-oh. Lindsay Lohan is smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day on Liz and Dick's set.
I'm not worried about this. There's no way Lindsay Lohan's going to be around long enough to die of emphysema or lung cancer. So she's
betting
fine.
Cirrhosis of the liver or some sort of drug overdose before
this
lung
is the
cancer
least of her problems. It's like if you ever see people at a rehab clinic or something, they're all just standing around outside smoking, because that's not the biggest problem in their life at that point.
Well, they do encourage people, if they do have a cigarette habit, to continue the habit if they are trying to rehab from, because that's the last thing you want to do is, on top of trying to kick, freebasing, then you want to keep your crutches, basically.
It's like harm avoidance. You try to do you try to get rid of the most deleterious thing in your life, and then maybe move on to the smoking later once you've got the drinking or the drug abuse under control.
A source close to the production says, literally every time she finishes a scene, she lights up another cigarette. You can hear the crew saying, "That's cut, get a cigarette for Lindsay." In between takes, she would sit on the director's chair puffing on her cigarettes. Lindsay has been working very hard, but without the nicotine, she probably could not make it through, as she appears stressed at times, and they do seem to calm her down.
This is not that big a story. There are many smokers. There are people that smoke all the time, right? You know what I mean? People that smoke to handle stress. This is not shocking.
That drives me insane about movies now, where if somebody is smoking in a movie, that's an automatic PG-13 rating.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
We have to pretend that people don't smoke. I know on British television, anything that's paid for by,
the BBC?
By
the license
by public
fees?
broadcasting, you can't show smoking. People cannot smoke in the show, and
really?
If they do, there's even I think you can, but there's all these weird rating figures that they get in the BBC, and there's like watershed and when things can be shown and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was watching the new Sherlock Holmes series.
Oh, I was watching that recently too.
Did you enjoy that?
It was okay. Yeah. They're very long.
Well, they're like an hour and a half each episode. Anyway,
okay.
Apparently, they had to cut out the fact that Sherlock Holmes smoked a pipe, because that would have made the rating certificate too high to show it at the time period they wanted to show it. It's ridiculous.
That's very annoying.
People do smoke cigarettes. People still smoke.
Yes, they do.
It's a part of life.
It's a part of life, and I don't think that just because somebody sees the new Sherlock Holmes smoking a pipe, all the kids are going to rush out to the store and buy pipes and become pipe junkies.
I don't know. That Benedict Cumberbatch.
Is that his name?
It's pretty dreamy. Oh, next story. Justin Bieber lectured by David Letterman for getting new tattoo.
Oh, good.
The only reason I put this story up is because it was a good example of Justin Bieber displaying his idiocy. Dave was razzing Justin about his new Believe tattoo.
That
he got
tattoo sucks.
That's a stupid tattoo, by the way. But his new album Believe just came out, and so he got a tattoo.
That's why.
To signify it.
Yeah.
And Letterman was like, "Oh, what are you doing? Come on, you don't need tattoos." And then at one point, Letterman said not to go nuts and get a mural like the Sistine Chapel on his back. And Bieber replied, "I'm not going for the 16th Chapel look."
He has no idea what the Sistine Chapel is.
No. The audience cracked up over the singer's mistake at the Vatican City Chapel that featured Michelangelo's famous mural on the ceiling. Letterman joked, "Canadian high school."
Us weekly readers do need to be told what the Sistine Chapel is, though.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
The other big story this week was...
More Letterman news, huh?
Well, Letterman has been the catalyst for some of the news going on lately, but I think some of our listeners may have heard of Alec Baldwin's altercation with the paparazzi outside he was trying to get a marriage license for him and his new, yoga instructor girlfriend.
I've seen her. Yeah.
And some photographer was in his face, and he pushed the guy. There's a picture of Alec Baldwin pushing the photographer, but the photographer accused him of punching him in the face. Alec Baldwin says this is not true, and he was poking fun at himself on the Letterman show. He said, "If I had punched him, I would be in jail right now, rightfully so. I kind of pushed him out of the way because he almost hit me in the face with the camera." Baldwin, to Letterman, said the photographer is a master at getting close enough to a subject that he thinks he's going to be hit by the camera. They want you to react, he said. The New York Press Club condemned Baldwin, saying his actions should not be tolerated. They said he is a public figure and that his activities are legitimate subjects of media interest. I don't think Alec Baldwin was at all in the wrong on this story.
No, some guy was putting a camera right in his face and he just pushed him out of the way.
Well, there's this whole thing of, they are public figures and they should expect to have every little aspect of their life scrutinized and they should expect to have paparazzi following them around all the time. Fair enough that when you step out to go to a Starbucks or something, there's going to be people snapping pictures. But when they get to the point of blocking them on the street, not letting them by, shoving cameras right in their face, being intimidating, following them in cars. That was the whole Princess Di thing. She's dead because of paparazzi, basically.
Yeah.
I want to see more celebrities punching people in the face.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that. And
well,
I think
the
our
thing is,
obviously
these people are trying to cause confrontations, right?
Yeah.
Because with today's modern cameras, you can be more than a couple feet away and get a pretty clear picture, right?
Well, I've seen video of people just insulting celebrities, trying to get a rise out of them so that they can get some sort of violent reaction. So then the picture that they were going to sell to TMZ goes from $2,000 to $20,000, you know?
That's despicable behavior.
It's ridiculous. And it's the only thing I can think of where if you want to use somebody's name or likeness to make money, you're not allowed to do that without giving them a cut. But for some reason, you can be a paparazzi and harass people and take pictures of them and sell those pictures. They don't see any money out of that.
Of course, we're also guilty. We're using this information to promote our successful podcast.
Yes, and it's the most
all of the
popular part
readers
of the show.
out there of celebrity trashy magazines, you're guilty as well.
Well, they're feeding the frenzy.
Exactly.
So once again, a
Red Letter Day
on Celebrity Minute.
What are the origins of Red Letter Day?
I don't know. I think if a newspaper came out and there was a headline that was...
There's no way they had red headlines. That is the best explanation I've ever heard. That's really amazing you came up with that, because I could envision my, big news, not just a big, giant headline, but a red headline.
They might be able to throw some red ink on there. I don't know.
We'll get back to you on this, people.
I'm still waiting for an actual story on our Celebrity Minute.
Oh, we'll get something.
It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it'll come. Don't worry.
All right.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Say things that don't make any sense, and then they do things that make even less sense than the things they said that didn't make any sense. Oh, they want you to buy them fancy jewels, but when you give it to them, they say you're a fool. Whoa, 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 whoa. 'Cause that's how women are.
All right, some of you may or may not be aware that lately there's been a firestorm of controversy on the blogosphere about, a quote that Adam Carolla made recently. Adam Carolla, who has a podcast that is slightly more popular than ours.
A competitor of ours.
A staunch competitor. So we're nipping at his heels a little bit lately. Yeah. But anyway, he has some new book out, and he was giving an interview to the New York Post. And it was just a sort of throwaway comment where I think somebody was asking him about how he had worked on several sitcoms in the past, none of which had actually gotten made, but talking about all the sexual harassment seminars they would have to go through, and how he said, like, it just makes you not want to ever hire chicks, was one of the quotes. So the interviewer said, the lesson you learned from a sexual harassment seminar was don't hire chicks. Do you hate working with women? Carolla said, no, but they make you hire a certain number of chicks, and they're always the least funny on the writing staff. The reason you know more funny dudes than funny chicks is that dudes are funnier than chicks. So, it's kind of controversial.
Oh, kind of.
Kind of.
Like,
but it's Adam Carolla.
It's Adam Carolla.
But anyway, of course, all these people took this. And there's an article in the Washington Post, like all these other publications were like, oh my God, this horrible debate, and people just freaking out. A lot of people were mentioning this Christopher Hitchens article that was in Vanity Fair several years ago before he died, where basically he explores this whole issue of, are women as funny as men, and if not, why? And I know we're probably not going to make any friends here on the show. Well, first of all, Warren, what's your take on this?
Women as funny as men. I got to say that I do know more funny men than I do know funny women. I do know some funny women, but yeah, it seems that way. That's my experience, at least.
And that's basically what
I'm not saying it's genetic or that it's maybe a cultural thing. Who knows? I don't know what the origins of it is, but that's my experience.
Yeah. And if you read deeper into what Adam Carolla was saying, he had some other quotes sort of discussing this whole controversy, where he was supposedly saying that he's not trying to make the point that no women can be funny. He's saying that there are very funny women, but if you're playing the odds are that a man is going to be funnier than a woman. The Christopher Hitchens article in Vanity Fair tries to explore all these evolutionary reasons behind why men may be funnier than women. And all I can go on basically is anecdotal evidence myself, where yes, I do know way more funny men than I know funny women, but I have known women who have been as funny, if not funnier, than the funniest men I've ever known. And I think it all goes back to the same thing that we've discussed before, where attractive men and attractive women, we've talked about how they don't have to develop their personality as much because everything gets handed to them. Yeah. I think in this debate, women don't need to be as funny as men do, because men constantly have to put on a show to attract women. And women don't need to put on the same kind of show.
There's probably some truth to that.
Well, if you think about it, like, what's the audience for male humor, for the most part? Usually it's trying to impress women.
I think probably as a child, when we were kids in school, I think I was trying to be funny in class to, like, enhance my, like, prestige with the women.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably the roots of that.
And there's a quote from the Christopher Hitchens article here. He says, why are men, taken on average and as a whole, funnier than women? Well, for one thing, they had damn well better be. The chief task in life that a man has to perform is that of impressing the opposite sex, and Mother Nature is not so kind to men. In fact, she equips many fellows with very little armament for the struggle. An average man has just one outside chance. He had better be able to make the lady laugh. I don't know if I place that much importance on it as much as Christopher Hitchens does, but I definitely will say that the women I know that have been insanely funny, usually not the most attractive women in the entire world.
Sarah Silverman's attractive.
She's also Jewish, though.
And now we're going to have stories in the New York Post about us.
No. There's this like Jewish cultural thing where just Jewish people are just funny. I don't know why. I don't know.
All right.
Well, think about all the Jewish comedians. There's tons of Jewish comedians. It's the same anecdotal evidence for there's more male comedians than female comedians. Some people say that's some sort of patriarchal glass ceiling that women can't break through.
So you would say that Jewish people are funnier than Gentiles?
I would say...
in the same way that men are funnier than women.
Percentage-wise of stand-up comedians who I find funny, there are probably more funny Jewish comedians than there are Gentile comedians. I don't know. It's an interesting subject, though, because I'm the last person in the world to say anything that could be considered sexist.
No, you never do.
Nobody would ever accuse me of that. But how many times have you met a girl, or how many times have you heard a girl talking about a guy, and she'll talk about, he's really nice, great personality, we got along really well, and he's so funny.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
But when men are talking about women, that isn't usually one of the criteria that they judge a woman by. It's good if she has a sense of humor in that she can laugh at your jokes, men like that, because they want to have a receptive audience for them. But they don't seem to value a woman being able to make them laugh as much. I think they would appreciate it if it occurred, but it's not high up there on the criteria.
I think it may have more to do with just our typically in our patriarchal society. I don't know if you want to talk about, there's a certain suffering that goes along with being a woman. There's also a certain suffering that goes along with being a man that is challenging.
Well, I think a lot of male humor is self-deprecating.
Yes.
And you don't find women being as self-deprecating as men are. Or maybe it's not as socially acceptable. Like, men are constantly making jokes about their sexual deficiencies and all sorts of things.
Mark Ruffalo with his small penis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's sort of like a camaraderie thing between men, where we knock each other down all the time.
Yes.
Women don't seem to have that same kind of weird... I think it's more personal for them or something. I don't know. There's another quote from the Hitchens story. Women have no corresponding need to appeal to men in this way, meaning with humor. They already appeal to men, if you catch my drift. At the Stanford University... Yes. At the Stanford University School of Medicine, researchers showed 10 men and 10 women a sample of 70 black and white cartoons and got them to rate the gags on a funniness scale. The researchers found that men and women share much of the same humor response system, both use to a similar degree the part of the brain responsible for semantic knowledge and juxtaposition and the part involved in language processing, but they also found that some brain regions were activated more in women. These included the left prefrontal cortex, suggesting a greater emphasis on language and executive processing in women. Women appeared to have less expectation of a reward when shown a funny cartoon, which when they got to the punchline of the cartoon meant that they were more pleased with it. When they heard the punchline, they also found that women were quicker at identifying material they considered unfunny. So Hitchens sums it up with slower to get it, more pleased when they do, and swift to locate the unfunny.
I'll say this, if I ever saw a Garfield cartoon and it got to the end and it was funny, I'd be so surprised I would probably laugh too.
I don't know. He also makes points saying, like, the cultural values are male. For a woman to say a man is funny is the equivalent of a man saying that a woman is pretty. Also, humor is largely aggressive and preemptive, and what's more male than that? There's also that thing where a lot of time women aren't supposed to be intelligent. Maybe there's societal pressure where you're not supposed to be as razor sharp, and so maybe women subsume their sense of humor a little bit. And this whole thing... as we've said before, and we'll say again, there are plenty of funny women. I think that women are perfectly capable of being just as funny as men, but I do think anecdotally that maybe women aren't encouraged to be as funny as men, and maybe they don't need to be as funny as men.
Well, the problem is, too, that the fact that a lot of times if you do praise a gender or a racial group or an ethnic group for being good at something, it's implied that they're deficient in other ways.
Maybe.
Which is always the controversy with, like, black athletes, right?
Right.
Which you can't talk about their leaping ability or speed. Even people are like, that guy's really fast, and, like, all these black guys are much faster than these white guys I'm watching right now.
Right.
And then people are like, well, that's racist. You can't say that. And you're like, is it? Because it sounds pretty positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, if you say, oh, these men are also funny... But it's like, are you saying that women aren't funny? I guess I am. I don't know.
If you know any funny women out there, listener, write in to warrenandbradley.com.
If you are a funny woman listener, write us a joke.
Yes.
Or maybe make us a cartoon.
Yes.
And then we'll see if we laugh at it.
We'll be the judge.
We will be the judge.
So, women, not funny. And that's how...
Final analysis.
Yeah, they like to put pretty purple panties on. And then they turn around and tell you that every little bit of thing you've ever done is always wrong. Well, they like to cry when they stub their little toe. But no, they don't cry when they tell you to go. No. Yeah, that's how women are. Yeah, I'm talking about how women are. Whoa, women are. Yeah, women are. That's how women are. Yeah.
So I already touched on the crazy cat woman in our Street Freak of the Week for this week, but that was just the creamy filling for the strange, crazy Danish that was yesterday.
Ew.
That was a metaphor.
It's an unpleasant one.
Really? I like
Yeah.
Danish.
Danish are good, but I don't like to associate the creamy filling with an obese, crazy cat woman.
You get like the cream cheese, raspberry Danish. Ugh.
Oh, I enjoy a Danish.
Right.
I'm not, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that offended you.
Yeah,
Warren.
as well.
The whole day started off with me going to get gas at the local Arco near here.
What a life.
Oh, yeah. Pull into the gas station. They have the self-serve pay booth where you can just, pump gas, throw in your credit card or your cash. There's
I know.
I'm explaining this to you because the person who I had an interaction with did not understand this at all.
Okay.
I was there waiting to pay at the self-pay thing. There was a Canadian East Indian gentleman trying to use the pay booth. Mm-hmm. And I saw him looking very confused and upset. And suddenly he throws his arms into the air and he's like, "Oh, what am I going to do? Help me! Help me!" Like yelling really loudly. I was like, whoa, what's going on? And there's all these other people standing around just like, waiting for the guy. And of course, nobody wants to go forward to do anything. So I'm like, all right, it's me being nice again.
Yeah.
I go up, I'm like, what's the problem? He's like, "It took my card. I put my card in. It's not giving me the gas. I don't know what to do." I'm like, okay, whoa, hold on there. I look at this machine. I see that he has placed his debit card into the slot for the bills.
Yes,
and not for the slot for the debit card.
Yeah.
And it's stuck in there. He's like, ugh, trying to pull it out. Like, oh, boy. So I go and get a pair of pliers out of my trunk.
Oh, you're being very helpful.
I'm very, very helpful. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this out for you. He's like, "Oh, please, come on now. I need my card." I'm like, okay. I grab the side of the card with the pliers, and I'm like, ugh, pulling, and it's not letting go of this card.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, God, what's going on? And the whole time, he's just, like, shrieking. And it, literally hands in the air, waving them back and forth. I've never seen somebody freak out like that, like a cliche movie freak out.
It's an Eastern thing.
Maybe. And so I put my foot against the side of the machine, and I just go, ugh! And I'm yanking almost with my full strength. Either the card is going to break or the machine is going to break because this thing is not letting go. Finally, I bam, pull it out. But the whole front fascia of the dollar bill slot comes out at the same time, and it's still attached to the card. As I'm sitting there holding this up, another East Indian gentleman who works in the Arco, I guess, heard the ruckus or knew something was going on out here. He appears at my side, sees me with a pair of pliers, as though I was just going to town on the money machine. Like, I don't know if he thought I was going to try to steal from it or what. Yeah. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing out here?" I'm like, oh, my God. It turns in this shouting match between the two East Indian guys with me in the middle holding this thing. It was ridiculous. And once again, proves that I should never try to be helpful and never try to do anything for anybody.
Let me tell you what I would have done.
Yes.
I would have offered to help him.
Uh-huh.
I would have seen I couldn't have gotten it out. I might have got the pliers from my truck, but I would have given the East Indian guy to try it.
The East Indian guys seemed
His hands were in the air waving.
He probably would have jabbed himself in the eyeball with the pliers. He was flailing around so wildly. He had gone from, "I'm a little bit worried about what's happening here," to just complete panic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he was on the way to the hospital. His wife was giving birth or something. Who knows? But there was more subtext
He was in a foreign country.
There.
He didn't know what was going on.
That is true.
It's all mystery down here.
It's
Everything
like everybody's
works.
trying to screw him down here or something.
Which is odd because if I was the kind of person that would freak out like that about things, I'd probably pay closer attention to where I shoved my card.
It very clearly shows a picture of a dollar bill being shoved into the slot. Yeah.
That's not a way to handle technology.
No.
To just do the first thing that comes to mind without reading anything.
Or if you're confused about the self-pay booth, just go inside and pay.
Yeah, there's many different ways you can resolve this. You can bring your card in there and pay inside.
So that was number one.
Oh, my.
Number two of the weirdo-filled day, I went to the bagelry, got my coffee and bagel as usual, was sitting outside drinking my coffee when a strange pair ambled up on the sidewalk. There are two, I'd say about 10 or 11-year-old boys, one of whom was pushing a tiny shopping cart that was filled to overflowing with a bunch of gaudy plastic toys, and he seemed very upset. His companion was another 10 to maybe 11-year-old boy who was very fat and was carrying a pearl-handled walking stick, like something you would see an old gentleman from the Victorian era sashaying around in. He was using it as a walking stick. They're walking down the sidewalk together. Suddenly, the shopping cart kid gets a cell phone call. He answers, "Hello? Oh, hey, Dad." And then he starts crying, like just bawling. It's like, okay. Hangs up the phone. His companion with the walking stick's like, "Shut up, baby. Quit faking, you crybaby." "I'm not faking, I'm not." It's like, "Shut up, you fucking crybaby." He's like, "You're an asshole. You're an asshole." Walking stick kid takes the walking stick, starts beating his friend with it right in front of me. like hitting him really hard.
You can do a lot of damage with the walking stick.
Oh yeah, and it had like a big like, I don't know if it was a griffin head or something on the end of it.
Yeah.
They're right in front of me. The kid is throwing his hands up in the air like, "You're an asshole! You're an asshole!" As the other kid is just beating him in the head with it. So I was like, all right, I have to do something here. I go up, I grab the walking stick that the kid is flailing around. I'm like, all right, that's enough of that. Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. I'm like, all right, I'm now in a tug-of-war with this fat kid.
Yes.
Other people on the sidewalk walking by like, what the fuck is going on? The employees from the bagelry are like looking out, seeing me with this walking stick. So I just went, ugh, and yanked it out of his hand and threw it out into the middle of the street.
Really?
Yeah.
The kid didn't run out in the middle of the street and then get hit by a car, did
No.
he? Okay,
and
good.
that sort of went through my head as soon as I had done that.
The way things are going for you, I can imagine that might have been what happened.
But it ended up diffusing the situation. The fat kid eventually did retrieve the walking stick, but the other kid took that opportunity to grab his shopping cart full of toys. And I don't know. This situation, I have no clue what was going on.
I was hoping when you started with a scenario that we would get to some, like...
No, there's no resolution whatsoever.
It makes no sense.
In my mind, I invented this myth where... maybe his father had said, "You've got all these shitty toys and you need to get rid of them because they're cluttering up the house." And so he gave him a tiny shopping cart and loaded the toys into them, and he sent him to downtown Bellingham.
See, that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
That's
like
insane.
Maybe he was taking them to a secondhand store or something, and then his dad called him and was like, "You're taking those toys, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yes, yes," and starts crying. His evil friend with the walking stick came along for some reason.
Why does
to
the
taunt
kid have
him.
a walking
I don't know.
stick?
It's just so surreal. It made no sense.
Did the toys look like the toys that would be appropriate to like a 10-year-old boy?
Yeah, they were like dinosaurs and weird shit. I don't know. It was just the weirdest shit.
I can't imagine how that began.
I don't know.
Oh. I hope whatever happened to those boys, they're doing well today.
They seem like good friends.
Yeah. Beating him with a walking stick. Yes.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.